Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first ever live MBL Blitz podcast. I'm your host, Spencer Murray, and here for the first time is my co-host, JY. We are very excited to bring this to you. We got a lot to cover today. We've got the big draft debate special, but first we're going to hit on some free agency, and that comes in the No Huddle right after this. All right, starting off here on the No Huddle, we're going to hit on some big free agency pickups today. We've picked a couple of guys ourselves. I'm going to start here with Dez Bryant. Pretty good pickup by the Broncos. The contract may have been a little long, but I still think he's got some juice in the tank. Definitely much needed help after Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas both were cut. This is going to help them out a lot. AFC West is always up for grabs. JY, you got a guy over there in the NFC that's big for you?
It's kind of a no-brainer. It is obviously Carolina signing A.J. Green. What A.J. Green brings to the Panthers is, 56 receptions, almost 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns. I don't think he's going to have that kind of production in Carolina, but his replacement in Cincinnati might have something to say about that.
All right, and now another under-the-radar type of signing for me was Devin Funchess in Cincinnati. This is a very quiet signing, as you can see, kind of Cincinnati and Carolina traded receivers. This is a good signing. Cincinnati always needs help in their passing attack, and a big receiver like this is going to be great for Dalton to just throw up to and catch the ball. Is there one more guy over there at the NFC for you?
Yeah, it's going to be Rob Gronkowski going to the Packers. Once again, it's not a really kind of no-brainer. I didn't kind of see how the Packers were going. But his 36 receptions, his 524 yards, his 3 touchdowns, I honestly don't think he is going to be overproducing from those numbers. I think he'll stay right around there.
Yeah, these guys are always, in any free agency signings are big. There were some big defensive signings, Levante David and Byron Jones with a huge contract, the Saints spending a whole bunch of money. So there's a lot of big guys. We just picked a few guys to hit on. We are going to hit on the season 22 preview right as we get back here.
Are you looking for affordable graphic design? Well, the Madden Bomber League has you covered. Our sponsor at web3ks.com can do anything you want. They always go, Bomber, where'd you get those intros? Web3ks.com. Bomber, where'd you get them graphics? Web3ks.com. So you guys need to check it out. If you run a CFM, if you got a Twitter account, if you got a YouTube account, and you're looking for some nice, clean, affordable graphics, go to web3ks.com and he will fulfill all your graphics needs.
All right, as you know, the Lions and the Steelers clashed in this past Super Bowl, and it was a bit unexpected how it went. But the Steelers still have hope. Big Ben has not retired yet. He's still got another year in him. But let's take a look at Mike Tomlin after that game and how tough and how emotional he was.
We fought hard, just not enough today. Came up a few plays short. Such is life. I just appreciate the efforts of our football team. There can only be one, obviously, and this year is not us. And we'll absorb that. Obviously, we'll take responsibility for us not being that team. But I really appreciate their efforts.
All right, JY. Tomlin was definitely emotional. It was a tough loss for the Steelers, but do you see any AFC team beating them here? As you can see in our graphic, we've got them agreed at the number 1 seed.
Not really. I mean, as long as Big Ben is still there chucking the football, these guys are going to put up points. They're going to put up yards. The one thing, it is kind of a trap because the one thing Lip did is he cut almost half of his team after that Super Bowl loss. So unless he picks up some things here in the draft, I think that's the only team that might slip.
All right, now on the NFC side, the Lions are definitely always dominant. Is there any team here on this list that could possibly give them a run for their money and maybe beat them in the NFC Championship round?
it's the Lions, man. There's really nothing you can do. I know a lot of the NFC North teams are kind of building their teams to try to stop the Lions, but as we've seen with Stafford and plug in any rookie wide receiver and he's going to put up big yards. I see the Redskins with their linebacking core kind of making another big step up here with a good draft.
Now, the NFC South definitely been competitive. You know, the Saints making that push for the playoffs, taking the division. What do you think the outcome is going to be between the Falcons and the Saints this year? Which team do you think will actually end up taking the division?
Only time will tell. I mean, Atlanta's got a lot of picks coming up here in the draft, which we're going to touch on here in a little bit. So depending on what they do, you know, those two are going to be battling it out up at the top.
Now, as we know, the AFC, always a close race there for these wild card picks. AFC West teams, there's a lot of them up on the board. In a non-biased opinion, I kept myself low. But do you see any other team besides these teams listed that could maybe make a push for a wild card spot, maybe even a division spot?
San Diego's made kind of a big splash. Denver made a big splash in free agency. You know, some of the numbers here, the AFC had over 101 signings. The NFC did 103 free agent signings so far. And of that, Denver, San Diego, and let's see, the Saints were all at the top in double digits already.
So a definite big race is coming here in season 22. The draft is definitely going to change a lot of things. Do you think any of the teams drafting early have a chance to get talent in order to push them over the edge?
There's been a lot of movement. There's been a lot of trades. There's a lot of guys that I think are reaching really high for, you know, one player. There's definitely some teams that could benefit from taking multiple picks, but I think the teams at the top took advantage of it. They picked up and, you know, steamrolled a whole bunch of picks for later on. So who knows?
Now, speaking of draft, right after this next commercial, we're going to get to the big special itself. Gub and Doughboy are going to come on and battle it out on their mock drafts and their opinions, and it's coming up next. All right, the big event is here. I'd like to welcome both Doughboy and Gub for coming on. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you having me.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we're going to start it off here. I'm going to ask Doughboy. We're going to start with the number one pick. We know Atlanta's got 3 picks in the top 11. Looking at your mock here, why do you think Atlanta should take a quarterback?
Yeah, I got Atlanta taking a quarterback with the first pick, partly because of them having the 4th pick as well. And this is a wide receiver deep class. There's about 7 first-round grade talent wide receivers. But a quarterback like Womack comes once in a lifetime. I think this kid tore up Wisconsin, Big Ten, had a great combine. And when you have the number 1 pick and you have a guy like Blake Bortles who has proven that he is a boat and he is constantly sinking his teams, you don't stick with that boat. You take the new kid. Womack should be number 1 pick. And I'd be interested to see if anybody says otherwise.
All right, Gub. So we're going to take a look at your number 1 overall pick, and why don't you go ahead and explain what you thought about that one?
To me, it's got to be wide receiver Trey Hackett out of Texas A&M. He's got all the measurables: 6'6", runs a 4.3 40. And the Falcons, Julio's getting up there in age. I could see them. He's got 2 years left on his contract. I could see him if they not bringing him back possibly after next year. Save a little money there. And they got Willie Snead also. So I think Trey Hackett, he's the best receiver in the draft. I think they can grab a quarterback later on if need be.
All right. Now, do you think that Hackett is going to put up kind of the Williamson numbers that he did last year?
Absolutely. Like I said, 6'6", 4.37 40. It reminds me a lot of Kelvin Johnson. He's got the speed. Catch radius is unbelievable. And I just think he's the next big thing in this league.
All right, moving on to Doe. We definitely know that wide receiver is a big commodity in this draft. A lot of rumblings, underneath that everyone's going to make a push for wide receiver. Is there another player outside of wide receiver at any position that is definitely a top tier talent that a team must have?
Absolutely, but I just want to say that Hackett is the third best receiver in this draft
Oh,
by far. Whitlock and Suggs both are better receivers than Hackett. Don't be fooled. In regards to the question you asked, the best player in this draft is the outside linebacker Rankart. He probably won't go number one because this is an offensive driven draft. I believe the quarterback and wide receiver are going to dominate the top 10. But from a pure stand talent wise, Rankart is a complete disruption on the defensive side.
now you mentioned that Hackett is the third best wide receiver. Do you have any backing to that, or is that just your personal opinion?
Just look at their college play. I mean, Whitlock was the best receiver in college. Suggs was so good he didn't even show up to the combine. So I mean, just look at their play.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But doesn't him not showing up to the draft kind of show a little bit of ethic issues?
It automatically puts him at 3 on my list. You do not. I mean, yeah, he's a speed receiver according to this, but you take that risk at number 1 and not knowing what his combine results are. Is he a 4.56? Is he a 4.5 guy? You got guaranteed speed with Hackett at 4.37. He's 6'6". They don't make them like that anymore.
Watch the game tape.
See, and I think it shows a little bit of prima donna where it's like, I'm so good, I don't have to show up to the draft. But honestly, that's your one time to showcase that you are better than all of the other guys on this list.
I agree with you. Absolutely.
Now, in my personal opinion, if I were in this spot, I would take a shot on him. If the kid's got confidence like this, you can't help but to not like him. The combine, some players don't go, but there's always the pro days, and there's always, you can bring them in, work them out before the draft. And the kid's got clear talent on paper, clear talent on the tape. You got to take a shot on him early.
That's true. I guess I'll go off to the next one here because, we did the mocks. Some trades came out. But I do want to talk to you guys about your number 2 picks. You guys both had the same player going to the Browns. What do you guys think that changes now that it's the Vikings?
I think that changed a lot. I think that cost McCann a little bit of money. I had the Browns taking them at 2. I think they need to get younger in the secondary, especially playing Pittsburgh twice a year. With the Vikings coming all the way up to 2, pretty sure they're probably going to target a receiver. Out of the 3, it probably will be either Whitlock, Suggs, or Hackett. They'll be happy with either one of them.
What do they need a receiver for when they don't have a quarterback? Bridgewater has been horrible. They need to take the quarterback. If you're right and Atlanta takes a wide receiver first, they have to take Womack. And if Womack's gone, they got to do Bragg at number 2. They have Diggs. They have Treadwell. They don't need another receiver.
Competing in that NFC North, if you want to be able to keep up with the Lions and now the Packers with Cobb and now picking up Gronk, there'll be a lot of points put up in that NFC North.
You need a quarterback to put the points up.
That's
right.
what
I think Bridgewater. I think Bridgewater will be just fine
Till his legs fall off him.
All right. So the next big move that we've heard, the Broncos moving up to number 3, trading a lot for the future. Rumors are, like the other top few teams here, they're shooting for a wide receiver. Do you think, Gub, that's the right move for them?
Absolutely. This is probably one of the best classes I've seen in MBL as far as wide receiver. They just let go of Demaryius Thomas. The defense is still stout, so they don't need to worry about defense. Trading up that high, it's got to be a receiver at 3.
Yeah, they're taking a receiver. They moved up. They picked up, I think they grabbed Dez, if I'm right. They grabbed Dez, but he's 1 year, maybe 2 left on him. And then they made Cody Cole a decent receiver, but he's really a slot guy. They need a true number 1 to pair with their tight end who broke out last season, Waller. So I definitely have them taking a tight end. They moved up. I mean, taking a wide receiver. They moved up to take a wide receiver.
All right, and another big trade we had, the Cowboys moved up to number 6, using a lot of picks there. Doughboy, where do you see them going?
Well, the Cowboys are a defensive team, and I think they're going to go corner. I think they saw all this talk about a wide receiver. Nobody's taking these corners, and McCann is an absolute monster, and he's going to be a steal at number 6. So I think they moved up because it's really hard to get the best corner outside of the top 5. It hasn't happened. The corners went number 1 last year, the best corner in the draft, and I think this year they moved up, seeing the potential to take some defensive studs with all these receivers that people are vying over in the top 5.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you there. They went out in free agency and signed Ronald Darby. They got Anthony Brown on the other side. They did lose Byron Jones, but they got Kobe Herman back there. Randy Gregory was another one they lost. I don't think they're going to trade all the way up to 6. Take Chris Lyle, one of the ends. So I'm also thinking they're going to target a receiver there at 6 if there's one.
All right, and I did talk to the Cowboys GM before, a little bit, and he said that he felt that they needed to get younger and draft a player that can come in and contribute right away. But really, do you give up that many picks if you're really trying to get that younger?
I wasn't a big fan of the trade. Like I said, I think they're going to take a receiver. Terrence Williams to me is not a number 1. LaShore is a solid 2. They used him a lot. Like I said, coming all the way up to 6, you got to get a playmaker at 6. So I'm going with receiver there for them.
The only question I ask myself is, I know that there were some rumblings after the losses that they were frustrated with Dak Prescott, and there could be a chance that they can say, let's get some competition in there. Let's bring in either Max Bragg or Kevin Womack. Let them compete, see who's the better one, and they might take a QB. Don't be surprised.
And after you throw that much money at Darby and you're going after some tight ends, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that where they're going to go, and I was going to pick quarterback for them too as well.
Now, someone made a good point here in the chat. Either one of you guys, whoever wants to pipe in first, do you think there's an actual chance for a QB to not go in the top 10?
Absolutely. I mean, even with the trades, when I first put on my mock draft before the trades happened, I didn't have a QB going first until pick 17 at the Jags.
Well, pick 7 would be in the top 10, so absolutely there would be a QB taken in the top 10. I have them at 4. If the Falcons take a receiver at 1, they're taking a quarterback at 4. Jags are taking a QB. Ravens might even take a QB because they're praying that Flacco retires every year. They're putting up some kind of voodoo curse on the guy because his contract's outrageous. And the Browns, no, they're not taking it. So I have Jaguars, Ravens, or Falcons definitely taking QB.
Now, the Jaguars did sign Garoppolo in free agency. Do you think that will deter them and maybe wait until next year to get a quarterback?
If Bragg or Womack are there, they're taking a QB.
It could, in my opinion, but competition, breeds excellence in my, so they could still take a quarterback and obviously go with the better one.
Yeah, the Jags really don't have many needs. Maybe a middle linebacker, but it's a little early for Powell. They're good at running back, they're good at receiver. Quarterback, if they're there at 7, they're taking a quarterback.
All right, so as we hit this next part, everybody that's watching, thank you for watching. Throw some questions in the chat for these guys. Try to spark up some more debate here. But I'm going to hit on the top 10 players from each of you guys. Is there one player that's not even in your first round that is actually a top 10 player in your opinion?
I could take that first. One guy who's a big question mark, and both of us agree on it, we were talking offline, is the Heisman Trophy winner, the free safety. He had a horrible combine, played well all season, but his combine and his off-season attitude has just dropped him out of the first round. So we have to really see what he's going to do. But I think he's going to fall to the second round, and this is unprecedented for a Heisman winner to make that kind of fall.
I agree with him. Like you said, we talked about it offline for a while. I'd be surprised if somebody takes a chance on him in the first round. More than likely a second or third round talent.
Well, I did draft the Heisman winner Wiley last year at free safety, so I'm not going to take him.
Definitely, you guys definitely.
Go ahead.
ahead.
Another name to keep an eye on would be the middle linebacker, Austin Duckworth. It is. His attributes weren't very good, but he killed it in the combine. And he might have worked himself into a late first, maybe early second.
All right, here's a good question. Is there a player for each of you in this draft that is just your number one dominant player?
I'll go ahead and take that. That's got to be Jackson Rencart. Best pure linebacker. I got him going, I believe, 4 to Atlanta. They were, I believe, 3rd to last in the rush defense. So I think having that, plus I believe they brought Gregory in. I think that helps sure that up.
Defensive tackle, Landholt. We're not talking about the trenches, but he's the best trench player in the draft. Has just been an absolute monster in the middle. Howard Landholt is going to be a stud, whoever gets him in the draft.
This draft is kind of center heavy when you look at the offensive line as well. Do you guys see any of those centers kind of being day one, or are these guys that you move into different positions?
All very flexible centers. You can move them around anywhere. I do have, I believe, I might have all 4 of them going. Obviously, I don't think all 4 of them will play center in the MBL, but I do have, I believe, all 4 of them going in my mock draft.
So you're saying I'm not going to get one at pick 32?
Not at 32. I don't believe you will. There's not enough quality linemen at all the other positions to that'll go. So I believe people will go at center and adjust accordingly too.
Doughboy, what about you?
Yeah, you have one of them at 32. That's crazy. There's two tackles that both have great potential. That centers would translate mostly to guards, but interior linemen never go above a tackle. You got Plummer at left tackle, 91 strength, and then you got Spurlock, who I think is going to impress a lot of people. Another tackle. I think they're both going to go. There's going to be centers. I think maybe 2, maybe 3 of the centers will go, but there'll be one of those centers that got the first round grade in the beginning of the second round.
Now, a question for these later teams in the draft. We've got the main core of wide receivers that everyone's been talking about, but these other guys that are projected first round talent, are there any of them out there, Gub, that could maybe become a starter day one on a team?
Gotta go with Josh Creighton. He's not fast. He's not going to blow by you, but he's the best route runner in the draft. So if I had to bet on somebody, it'd be Josh Creighton out of Nebraska.
And Doughboy, how about you?
Yeah, Creighton's good. Conway is good. I think both of them go late first, early second. I think, we're going to see 7 receivers go in the top 40 picks.
All right. I did notice that none of you guys have like any running backs anywhere on your list. Is there a reason why you guys don't have any halfbacks out there?
Well, at number 13 on my mock, I do have a halfback. The team traded up, so I don't think that's going to be accurate in real life. But Denver Broncos got rid of their starting running back, C.J. Anderson, and they need somebody to come in. And I think that Kimbrell Tompkins is the only halfback with a grade that actually fits the first round. I think that the other guys are more second, third round running backs, but Tompkins could be a great pickup for a team that needs a running back in the first round.
I think I'm going to call it the Alston syndrome. Alston was a practice squad guy that just blew apart all of the records. Do you think that's going to have anything to do with it too, Gub?
Yeah, I just don't think there's one that's worth, quarterbacks are a dime a dozen. I feel like you can find one later on in the rounds, even in free agency, picking up somebody like you said, he's practice squad guy picked up and became MVP of the NBL. So I wouldn't reach on any of these running backs in the first round.
Now speaking on Denver and them needing a running back, do you whoever said that that was Doe? Do you think that the Abdullah sign or what would maybe get him away from a running back and maybe go for something else?
Isn't the same Abdullah that averaged negative 1.9 yards running with the Lions?
Well,
he did
fair,
have
that
a
is the
great
Lions.
showing there in the Super Bowl.
Well, yeah, because you scout the Lions to never run the ball, and then when he finally does in the Super Bowl, he tears it up. But no, Abdullah, in all seriousness, Abdullah's a solid running back, but he's not a starter. He's a fill-in. He's the guy you when the starter takes a break, get some water, you throw Abdullah in for one play. Hope he gets a few yards, and then you pull him out.
They say Cleveland's where quarterbacks go to die. Well, you got the Lions is where running backs go to die. You got Abdullah did no good. Then he signs Jeremy Hill. He gets hurt. So, there's nothing ever good coming out of Detroit as far as running backs.
It's the Barry Sanders curse.
Now, another story we can look at here, Cincinnati picking up a lot of picks here in this first round. Do you think they kind of just play hole filler, or do you think they're looking for day one talent? Gub, we'll go with Gub.
Yeah, it's got to be day one. You got 4 first rounders, I believe, 4 or 5 first rounders. You got to be looking for day one talent. You lost AJ Green. You do got Marvin Jones, who's coming off a big year. You lost Geno Atkins. I do believe that's who they're going to go with now that they traded around. I believe they're going to go with a defensive tackle out of Stewart. I think that'll be a good fill-in for Geno Atkins.
All right, and Doughboy, your outlook on that?
Well, if anybody knows the owner of the Cincinnati Bengals, Sonny, he is an analytics guy. So he has spreadsheets on every single one of these draft players. And the good and bad with that is, yes, he has 5 picks, and he's probably going to hit on a few guys, but he's not the best drafter because he goes with statistical outputs. And a lot of times drafting is just that gut feeling, and he hasn't been able to hit many home runs. So I hope that he gets a couple guys, but I think that he's going to miss on 1 or 2 of the people. He needs a lot of players. He's moved a lot of money around. This is his year. He's planning for it. So I hope he does good. I definitely think that it's going to be interesting. I think I have him taking a wide receiver if he falls to 14, but with all these trades, he might not be able to get a receiver, which he was really hoping for. So he's going to fill the coffers with solid guys. I think a couple defensive studs will fall back to him, but I think he's going to miss out. He's really heavy towards the back end of the first round. So we'll see what happens.
Keep an eye on a quarterback too. There's been a lot of talk about Andy Dalton not being happy and not being able to win the big ones. But I believe Taylor Tessero out of Florida State. Keep an eye on him in the Cincinnati late in the first round.
Yeah, I think Tessero's a sleeper, definitely.
No doubt, Sonny looking to make a splash in the first round. I think we can all agree on that there. We'll hit on one more topic, and then if there's no questions, we can wrap it up. But the Rams coming out saying they're going to give Goff 1 more year. I see Doughboy has them taking a QB. Do you think that's still the way they go this draft?
Yeah, the Rams are sticking with Goff. That's confirmed. They have an investment for 1 more year at least, and then they will evaluate. If Goff does not perform, this is a playoff caliber team. They will be taking QB next year 100%.
And Gub?
I could see them. Taylor Tessero, I talked about him as far as Cincinnati. If he's there, I could see them even taking him as a backup plan in case Goff doesn't work out this year. But I believe in my mock, I had him taking Vladimir Fluellen, who's the best tight end in the draft. So why not get your starting QB, the best tight end in the draft?
Oh, here's a good question. The Browns getting 4 picks in the first round. We'll go with Doughboy on this one. Do you think with these 4 picks they can compete in the North this season?
I think that they will be better than they were last year. They have the Steelers, who have been to 3 Super Bowls in a row. The Bengals, who hold the wild card spot consistently. But I think they're going to be a 500 team. I think the Cleveland's route is to go defense. If they can slow the game down and not turn the ball over, they have good chance of pulling out some victories this season.
No doubt. Their quarterback having a rough season, throwing for a lot of interceptions. Gub, do you have any input on those 4 picks there with the Browns?
I wasn't a huge fan of the trade moving out of 2. You're real old in the secondary. You just brought in Cam Chancellor. Joe Hayden's just pushing over 30 now. I thought they should have stayed there and drafted Joquan McCann, get younger at that position. And also, like I said, you gotta go up against Pittsburgh twice and Antonio Brown, Martavius Bryant, Marvin Jones. So I thought they should have stayed there, but moving back, we'll see what they do.
Definitely something to watch there. Browns always drafting good talent here in the last couple drafts with their defensive ends, and that quarterback that they got seems like he's ready to play, just having a bit of an off year last year. Now, turning to the AFC West, the Raiders traded out all their first round picks, if I'm looking at this mock draft right, the final after all the trades. Doughboy, do you think that was a smart move on their part, given how tough the AFC West is?
Well, if my memory serves correct, I believe the commish actually stripped the first round pick due to violations with Amari Cooper. So I think they were trying to move some picks around. But I think the Raiders have had a lot of trouble. Cooper was a superstar heading into season 20, struggled in season 21, and then got in big trouble in season 22. So I think that he's looking to rebound. Maybe this is the redemption season. But I don't think that they have any say in the first round this season.
Gub, do you have any thoughts?
I think the Raiders, in my opinion, I think they're the favorite in the AFC West. They got a new ownership in San Diego. I think that's going to take them a little while. I don't believe they have a first round pick this year either. They may not have a second, but I'm not sure on that. But I do believe Carr bounces back, has a big year. They caught fire about mid-season last year and ended up making a run into the playoffs, made a run into the AFC Championship, gave Pittsburgh all they can handle. I do believe they're the favorite. We'll see this year.
See, now that's where I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one. Oakland has been one of the, at least in free agency, hasn't done as much signings as the Broncos and the Chargers. Only the Chiefs have done less free agent signings, plus they lose a first round. I don't think the Raiders are going to be anything over 500.
We'll see. They did their free agent last year, bringing in John Brown, Tyler Eifert they brought in. They're still good on they got Klumack on defense. I just disagree with you. I think they're going to win the AFC West.
Now,
Fair enough.
Now, another big thing, Dolphins trading down. Do you think them trading down and not trying to get a quarterback, do you think they have a chance at 13 to get a quarterback that's good enough to lead them where Tannehill and Boykin and Doty couldn't? Gub?
I do believe there will be one at 13 if they decide to go that route. They usually like to go defense. I really believe they brought in Brock Osweiler this year. There will be a quarterback there for them at 13. Do I think it's the right pick? Well, that's to be determined.
Yeah, from my talks with ownership down in Miami, they really liked Brock's experience in the playoffs. He struggled against the Steelers in the championship game, but he came into the interviews and really impressed them with his confidence. And I think that kind of turned the tide. I know Miami brought in some defensive coordinators, and they are really going to target defense. They think that they can be an 85 Bears kind of team and just break teams down defensively, stay in the game. So look for them to take defensive tackles, corners, linebackers, those types of players as they move back in the draft.
The problem I have with Miami and their quarterbacks is that you're signing another Tannehill to replace a Tannehill. I mean, you should have kept the pick and drafted a lot higher and get one of those stud quarterbacks and just build from the ground up. Quit replacing him with the same player.
Agree with you there on that.
That my personal 2 cents here with the Dolphins is the QB play towards the end of the season was picking up, but their run game, Gage Burke, I personally don't think is the answer there. I think there's plenty of running back studs in this draft. They could pick somebody up to come in and be effective day one and help that passing attack a little bit, alleviate the pressure, and give Brock the play action options and anything else deep. I mean, I think that's personally where they're hurting.
Yeah, I think they're going to take secondary. I think you're going to see Cochran, the safety, EU Abambe, the corner. There's some defensive players I think they're targeting with that trade back down.
I agree with you on the safety. They lost Rashad Jones. He was released this offseason, so safety would be a safe bet. Like you said, Cochran, even BJ Sams, Horton, but we'll see.
What about the Heisman free safety? Do you think that's a pick that he would make?
Not at 13. It's too much of a risk. His combine, like I believe Doe brought it up early, his combine just, he killed his draft stock a little bit with the combine.
Yeah, I think a team that has a lot of draft picks is going to take him early in the second round.
That seems fair enough. Well, it looks like the chat is out of questions. Thank you guys for putting in all this work. I know everyone was definitely interested, and me and JY definitely enjoy having you both on the show. We'll give you guys each one opportunity to add something else special if you want to.
Well, I'm just gonna say I appreciate you guys having me on. I look forward to future drafts and taking this stuff to the next level.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. This is the first time that Gubs and I have been able to come on debate. We look forward to being able to have some more back and forth throughout the season. And tune in tomorrow night. We're going to have the MBL Primetime Season 22 draft at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, we definitely have a big draft coming up. A lot of guys on the call. Draft day is always one of the biggest shows that we all put together. It's definitely going to be a good one. Once again, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks JY for coming on for the first ever co-host portion.
No problem. I'm glad to be here and can't wait to move forward.
Definitely, I think that this show was the next step that we needed. Definitely, hopefully, given the Commissioner's Corner a bit of a kind of push. So thanks again for watching, guys. Any other questions, tweet them. We've got at Madden Bomber League, at MBL Network. MBL Blitz also has their own Twitter page, or you can tweet me at Brocco Beef. So just get involved, and thanks for watching, guys.